Man, it is good to be back in the saddle. Alright boys, I got a special one for y'all today. Code Bunny. Released September 22nd, 2023 on itch.io and December 19th, 2024 on Steam, aka today if I actually get this video out on time. This game is an exciting action-packed platformer based on the different incarnations of Megaman and Sonic, as we travel to the distant future of a planet named Lumina, where we play as two sci-fi heroes with power armor, as they defeat different combat robots and members of an evil terrorist organization, on an adventure filled with betrayal, emotion, and the truth of the world. And, you know, everybody's also a cute little rabbit, because hey, that's just fun, it's fun, I like it. But before we actually get into this game and, you know, my usual in-depth analysis, I need to make sure that it's known that this is actually my first sponsored video. I was approached by Team 7 Star around September this year, wanting me to make a video on their game and offering me a Steam key for when it launched on that platform. Now, before you get worried, I made it clear that I'd only do this whole thing if I was allowed to speak freely on my thoughts and critiques for the game. I don't try to pretend that my weird little show is anything more than my own brain dumps of opinions and like some Snapple facts on my favorite video game franchises, with a little bit of awful jokes mixed in, just a little pinch, just a little seasoning. But still, a man's gotta have a line, you know? I'm always excited to show off the work of indie devs and anyone else, honestly. These are all amazing projects, but my word can't be bought. Unless you're Raid Shadow Legends and you... No, I'm just joking. That'd be pretty funny though, if they gave me like $1 million to just do a really shitty like 3-second ad. I wouldn't do it. Well, maybe if it was $1 million, but no, I'm just kidding. You see, actually, the folks at Team 7 Star were actually very clear about how they wanted my open and honest opinion about the game, which I really appreciated. And when I got a chance to see their game in action, well, I'll be completely honest, it really did genuinely blow me away right from my first impression. So I just went ahead and bought the game on itch and started playing it that night, you know, like a total idiot, because that's really not how this whole sponsorship thing is like supposed to go. It defeats the purpose, but you know, I'm the type of guy, I like to support devs when I can. Though, thankfully the team did graciously gift me the Steam version early so that I may be able to give my full opinions on the latest version of the game. So with all that out of the way, let's actually get to the point of this video, shall we?
The king!
Starting with the game's development, I wasn't able to find like every detail on the team behind Code Bunny, nor its like full development, but after some sleuthing through all the itch pages and some different like social media stuff, I pretty much got all the basics of what I need to tell y'all. So starting things off with the developer Team 7 Star. It's a team based in Latin America made of a team of 9 experienced and amazing artists who worked on quite a few titles before coming together to make this game in 2020, Code Bunny. Headed up by the dynamic duo of Violetta Volnut and Lavi Azure, if I didn't say those right, please shoot me in the comments by the way. The couple got to work on what seems to be their dream game, which I believe was first revealed to general audiences during the 2021 Sage event. Sage essentially being the Sonic Amateur Games Expo, aka the place to go if you're interested in anything that takes inspiration from the Blue Blur, with games like Freedom Planet and Spark the Electric Jester also getting their start in these types of events. Which you should be familiar with if you're a fan of this channel, as I've done quite a few videos on Freedom Planet, with its sequel actually being one of my favorite games of all time. And Spark... Wait, I haven't made a video on Spark? Huh. Weird. Put it on the list. But either way, this is the event for indie devs to show off their work, and Code Bunny was quite the mainstay here for the next few years, till the launch of their demo and full release in 2023. As stated before, this game is an action platformer taking inspiration from Sonic and of course Mega Man. You know, if the name Volnut and the appearance at Sage weren't enough of an indicator.
Mission complete!
Like Sonic, the game is very momentum-based, with ranks at the end of each stage to judge you on your time, amount of deaths, and lengths of your combo chain, with both characters being able to extend their combos by attacking enemies with your unique movesets. Starting off, we have Hazel, probably the more standard of the two-player characters, as she's able to jump and slash like lots of other characters in this genre, but that's where the standardness kind of ends, as Hazel is able to use this little shuriken to mark and then dash towards enemies, to perform a technique called the Moon Crescent, which not only does like a ton of damage, but also basically allows her to keep on the move. And she's even able to combo this attack with multiple targets as long as they are within reach, making Hazel a very addicting character to run and dash around with, but beware as there is a second edge on that sword of hers, as when your combo increases, so does your karma. And if your karma amount overtakes your health, then Hazel enters a bit of a berserker rage called karma mode, which makes all of her attacks hit for 4 times the damage, which is pretty cool except for the part that she herself takes way more damage as well, with all of it being just about fatal when she falls into this state. Though that's where her second ability Shatter Point comes in, as it will leave her with 1 HP if an attack would have otherwise been fatal. But don't count on that as a crutch, as it won't activate when she's only at 1 HP. Luckily, there are ways to manage your karma though. 1, just don't break your combo, which is easier said than done. Or 2, make liberal use of the Crescent, which spends karma for extra damage. There's also Hazel's parry technique, which is also great for avoiding attacks and spending karma. And I highly recommend that you get really good with this, because otherwise some of these fights in this game can be quite a pain. And that's all on top of karma mode activating at an inopportune time. You know, I actually find Hazel's gameplay to be a really fun evolution on the standard katana-wielding character in this genre. Sure, she has her slashes, but they come at a cost. And when that cost gets too high, it can be just as dangerous for you as it is your opponents. So keeping an eye on your karma is a big deal for this character, and it becomes a delicate balance. And since this game is all about you swiftly maneuvering your way through levels without breaking a combo, Hazel ends up actually being the perfect character to showcase this, due to her being at her most fun specifically because of all the dashing and slashing you'll do. But like her, if you get too reckless or if you don't manage your karma, it will come back to haunt you, simultaneously punishing and benefiting the player based on their own understanding of the character. So if you're a first timer, the attack boost from karma will come in handy as you try to make your way through the game, but when you're more experienced and you're just trying to stay on the move, karma ends up being its own sort of timer, punishing you for messing up, especially if you're trying to save it for a boss fight, which yes, it will cripple them in seconds at the cost of you yourself being just as fragile. So don't get hit, and get good with that parry, kids. My god, does it do the work if you master it. Now, when I said Hazel was a more standard character, what I really meant to say was that she is more standard in comparison to the wild experiment that is Axel Loop. A very fitting name, as the way this guy just uses his talent as an ice skater to pretty much slaughter his foes, though he'd probably not appreciate my phrasing. Now, when I said ice skater, I can already guess what you're thinking. If you're thinking that he's like this kinda dainty, graceful, elegant type figure, then yeah, sure, Axel does fit the bill. But to be honest, when I see him, all I can think about is... Or, you know, maybe... Because, oh my actual god, does this guy, his spin, it's just... It destroys everything it touches. Axel may be a self-described pacifist, but in practice, this man is a deadly surface-to-air ballistic missile. The amount of damage you can do with this move is obscene, and that compiles with the ability to combo off of targets to keep feeding his momentum and airtime. If I was an army general, I would give all the cadets this little spinner suit and fire them out of a large bay launcher. The enemy would never stand a chance. You think Hazel is dangerous? Oh god, no. Axel's the real threat around here. The comparison is unironically the coughing baby to the nuclear bomb. You can destroy Axel's campaign by just spinning yourself silly the whole time. It's more than possible to just spam it, as you're practically invincible while you do it. Which sounds kind of broken, because if we're being honest, it kind of a little bit is. But that's not all, as when you spin and combo enemies, you also get these EX points, which allow you to use Axel's Comet arts to basically just dash along, drop kick, air attack, or ducktail stomp on enemies to deal more damage and stay on the move, or even take a hit for you, which again makes you practically invincible, which is great because that 3-hit combo, yeah, okay, that's it. It's all right. it's not super good, but you know, it kind of balances it out because his other abilities are low-key kind of broken, which you are going to have to make use of if you plan to speedrun the game, which you'll probably want to do for both characters, because in the speedrun mode, when you complete it with both characters, you actually get some exclusive moves. The upward slash for Hazel and the comet jump for Axel, which, well, okay, maybe I just don't completely understand their speedrun uses, but they're pretty cool. They're alright. They probably could have just had these in their base kits, to be honest, but I like them. I think they're cool. I get the idea. It's like, here's a little reward for beating the game really fast, and now you get a move to help you beat it even faster. I like it, but like kind of at that point, you've kind of beaten the game like 4 times. I could see speedrunners going ham for these moves, but as for me, I just kind of forget they're there sometimes, because I don't really remember I have them, plus they aren't added to the move list in like the option menu. I think they're fine rewards, but I kind of maybe wonder if maybe their casual outfits would have been a cool bonus alongside the move, you know? You know, just like another way to really differentiate another playthrough after you beat the speedrun mode. Overall though, when it comes to character feel, I think this game is extremely solid. I was actually kind of surprised when I went through all the early footage, and I saw how these two are pretty much essentially the same. But to be honest, I don't know why I would be. Hazel and Axel and their ideas behind them are honestly 10 out of 10 for an action platformer. Like, if these two were actual playable characters in a Mega Man game or like a Sonic game, I'd honestly feel comfortable picking them over the usual cast. These two are just so unique and so fun. I really did enjoy the movement and the capabilities of our characters. And like all good platformers, I think it takes a playthrough or two to truly appreciate what each of them bring to the table. I remember my first playthrough, I chose Axel, and I was blown away when I somehow managed to get a 99 combo in my first level just about on accident from like that spin alone. I could tell from that moment the kind of technical depth that these characters could reach, and I was really excited to see how the game's stages would really match that energy and oh shit, I beat the game. Huh. Yeah, okay, like here's my only like actual real complaint. The game it's kind of short. And like, I know this is a momentum-based platformer, you're supposed to play it over and over and over again, you know, really get a handle of the game's mechanics. You know, they're not meant to be like the super long ordeal. And if we consider all the wonderful music, characters, and the story, then yes, you get what you pay for, especially for that $10 price tag. But like, the game's like gameplay sections are like pretty short, like real short. And I think the only reason I couldn't get under like 20 minutes with Axel is because of like the bottomless pits, which are for real the deadliest things in this game. And you know, that's because of your like crazy fast momentum. Everything else that isn't like the final area are honestly just really easy with how powerful these characters are. And you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't think the game has enough meat to really allow me to push these characters to their upper limits. And you wouldn't necessarily have to make new stages or anything like that. Honestly, I just feel like you could build off of like what you already got. Like each of these stages have like a really unique gimmick to them. Then there's like, you know, there's stuff like the magic hats, the air currents, the lava. I think it's lava. I'm not really sure like what it is. But like think about, I'm saying like a lot in this video. I'm so sorry. I'm just kind of excited because I'm excited. I'm getting back on the saddle. It's been a rough few months. Anyway, but think like Sonic stages, for example. Each of his different zones has a unique gimmick of sorts, and that kind of just defines the stage. The first act introduces you and teaches you about the gimmick, then the second and third test your abilities with said gimmick in more and more challenging ways. Then sometimes a boss will incorporate that gimmick into a fight. With Code Bunny, it kind of just feels like we just get the introductory stage, and then we get the boss fight, where, you know, the gimmick isn't really all that a part of the fight. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, but like, what if we reuse the exact same tile set and gimmicks to make 1 or 2 more acts for a stage? You know, really expand out what that gimmick can do. Like maybe with the wind, you could actually jump from stream to stream using enemies to bounce off of and there'd be like no ground or nothing like that. Or maybe for like the clock tower, you can do like a hat maze where you have to like pick the right one and then you get shot out of another one, like Lost Woods or something. Like, I don't know, I'm kind of spitballing here. And you wouldn't really even need to incorporate a gimmick into every boss fight, you know, but I just think like Faye Nix's fight could have been a little bit more like challenging if it had the lava. Is it lava? I don't know. Maybe we could like turn it purple and say it's magic. Her whole thing is magic. And her name is literally Phoenix, so maybe we can give her a fire power. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. But what if the lava appeared in like the middle or near the end of her fight, making it more difficult to dodge her mini projectiles because you're also worried about where you're gonna land? And it kind of seems like you had this idea already, because from early screenshots there was like a bottomless pit in her fight arena. And you know, I can understand, you know, wanting to remove that kind of thing, because it probably would have been too hard to do the whole fight, but maybe as like a mid-transition kind of thing, like a really something like to throw you off, you know, while she's doing the Phantom Ganon volleyball thing, you know, just kind of expand on that little fight you two have had like throughout the stage. You know, that right there is genuinely like my biggest complaint. There's like, I really want more to play, which yes, is probably the best criticism to get. And again, $10, I think this game is more than worth it. And we're even getting a free content update in 2025, so hey, maybe that'll settle me down a little bit. Especially if they pull like a Mania Plus and just give us remix stages with a new color palette or something. I don't know, but this does kind of pair with something else I want to talk about, but we can get there when we get there. I still really like the gameplay, it's very solid. But while we're here, how about we talk about that music? Here? While we're here? Come on, I was going for like a hearing pun, but half of me wanted to say while we're here, cause rabbit. Yeah, I don't know, man, just like a disturbing glimpse into my own dark reality. What's with hairs? Why do they look that way? Anyway, the music in Code Bunny is genuinely really good. I mean, come on, bro. You've been listening to it this whole video. I don't need to tell you this. It was a wonderful callback to the chiptune you recognize from the NES to the GBA. I liked it a lot. It fits the type of game we're playing here. I think my personal favorite song may or may not be Wondrous Luster. I don't know, it just kind of spoke to me, you know? But I love a lot of the more Japanese-inspired tracks for the Yokkaido stage. Wait, wouldn't all these be Japanese-inspired? Because of the origins of a lot of the chiptune whatever, man. I don't know, music is out of my wheelhouse. Though, special shout out to that bonus song on the soundtrack. Y'all thought I was kidding about the GBA before, but man, not gonna spoil it here. Sounds great though. Wouldn't mind the whole OST got that treatment. It sounds great, you should check it out. Graphically speaking, the game is just gorgeous. The art style is impeccable, all the characters and their battle suits are really cool. I love all the bright and colorful looks for all of the stages and areas, which like perfectly contrast like the final stage quite well. Which makes sense as there is some heavy stuff going down around there. It's gonna look a little dull, a little null, you know what I'm saying? But I think my only nitpick is I kind of wish the character portraits were a little bit bigger. It was kind of hard to tell, you know, when they changed at times because they're kind of just really small and out of the way. It was kind of hard to tell that, you know, when they changed at times because I got just so used to just reading the text. And again, the art is amazing. Y'all gotta show it off. You know, I joked before about a Mania Plus recolor for the stages, but honestly, if they just look the exact same as they do now, and you just like mix up the layout or something, I wouldn't complain. Each of them have a very unique architecture and vibe from one another, and it really makes them feel distinct. I just wish I got to stay in each of them for a little bit longer than like a minute or two. And with that, it's time for story. And I'm not gonna fib here, fellas. If you've not played Code Bunny, then I tell you to please skip the spoiler section of this video. A lot of this game is tied directly into its story and its characters, and by far the most time you'll spend in this game is getting to know the people in this world and for what they believe they need to fight for. And you know, I don't want to be the one to spoil it all for you. But for those who are interested, here's some quick spoiler-free thoughts on the story. Let me just say that I think the plot of this game was very well done, and I think that its message was great. Definitely something that I think is important to believe in and spread around as times around us tend to feel so much, let's say, heavy. Heavy's a good word. It was a lesson I myself had to learn the hard way, and I think it's important for everyone to come to terms with it at some point in their life. I enjoyed the in-between character dialogues that really fleshed out the plot points and the themes from each of the stages, which I also thought, you know, some of them were actually really funny. And I like that being either one of the different player characters actually give you like a different perspective on each of the different conversations. That was honestly a really cool detail. But with all that, you've been warned. Skip here to avoid all story spoilers for Code Bunny. I really want to emphasize that if you've not played it and you're interested, you really should skip. In the distant year of 2090, the planet of Lumina is the hotspot. I don't know why I'm acting so serious. The planet of Lumina is a hotspot for rabbits and a special substance called Aether, which is pretty much the primary power source that the planet resources from the comet Elastar that comes around every 25 years. The country of Xandu and the corporation Lagos are working together on a conjoined project to figure out how to get more energy from the comet. To do this, they bring together a group of remarkable individuals. Hazel, the super crazy army ninja with a dark backstory and aloof personality. Axel, the twink pacifist. What? Huh. Axel, the pacifist who's got a heart of gold. Raffi, tough as nails mechanic who's definitely not hiding anything. No, well, why would you say that? I wouldn't do that for you guys, come on. And Igusa, the super smart researcher with the drinking problem.
Hey, it's only a problem when I run out.
We don't like to talk about it.
Together, they form the VY Space Program to research the ways of the comet in the orbiting space station. And I'm not doing this stupid voice for the rest of the video. Anyways, these four come together to become the ultimate research team, though for the time being, they're actually preoccupied with a terrorist organization going around known as Mad Bunny, who's traveling the world trying to collect shards from the comet that contain a lot of power. From here, you choose between the characters of Hazel and Axel, with your choice being the primary combatant for these missions and the main focus of the story. Though, don't worry, the basic plot is still pretty much the same between the two of them. But, you know, like the reasons for what they do is different. However, they both come to the same conclusion, so let's just move forward. Though, there's also some like little in-between dialogue between missions to help develop our quartet of heroes and the world around them, which, you know, I found pretty interesting. I like these, and I liked how we get different perspectives on certain conversations depending on which character we play as, though neither one of them gives us info on the incident that happened with Igusa. Like that's a reason to stop. No matter who you choose though, the game opens up with us being sent on a mission to help quell the recent attack here in the city, which is actually a really fun callback to Mega Man X's opening stage, which I appreciated. And much like that opening stage, we're introduced to the main players of this game, starting off with Loon, a mysterious child in some sort of suit that seems to be keeping his condition at bay, though unfortunately for him, his suit is destroyed after we're forced to fight him. Depending on the character you choose, Loon and the rest of his Mad Bunny cohorts will actually have a bit of a different opinion of you. Since Hazel was with the military and has like some sort of connection to the pink looking character, the group doesn't really seem to like her, and they even hint to a terrible past she must have suffered. Ooh. For Axel, they're actually really nice to him, and they really appreciate his pacifist nature, which I think is, you know, that's pretty fun. I like that. Though Loon seems to poke at his reasoning for fighting, which, yeah, there's a reason for that, and that's going to become a lot more clear later. After this, though, the two are sent to a forest, where they encounter the witch character from earlier who seems to have some sort of connections to a tribe of people called the Nyx, that used to inhabit this little forest area but was forced to move out by the government due to some sort of pollution in the area. Of course, that's not the whole story, however, as the witch herself points out, so we take her in for some questioning. It's here where Axel's pacifist nature actually starts to point out how this terrorist group, in quotes, isn't really the one picking the fights here, we are. But Hazel shuts that conversation down with the idea that a fight broke out anyway, and it's not like we can just let them get all the comet shards, those things are way too dangerous. This argument, however, is stopped when the beginning of our next mission begins, as here we're able to battle the pink woman from earlier, who's revealed to be an old friend of Hazel's named Shoko, and she has some beef with Hazel over something traumatic that happened in their past, which of course leads her and Hazel to fight. But if you're playing as Axel, she instead tries to appeal to your senses and tells you how Hazel isn't really the person he thinks she is. But Axel is defiant. Maybe she's not telling us everything, but he knows Hazel isn't that bad of a person. Then later after the fight, you're either playing as Hazel, who then gets comforted by Axel about the fight that just happened, or you watch as Hazel comes in and thanks Axel for stepping up for her. Either way, they have a nice conversation about the view from the space station, which is actually a callback from an earlier optional conversation, which I thought was cute. But here is where they actually level with one another, and they talk about their backstories. With Hazel actually telling Axel about how she was friends with both that Choco woman and a man by the name of Ash, which she followed into the army in order to impress him as well as stay by his side, but an accident happened that led to his death. And now she carries around his blade in remembrance to him. However, she's not really fond of this new dull personality she seemed to gain, and the karma from his death is really leaving a mark on her. With Axel then protesting all that and says that he really has come to appreciate Hazel. Though Axel does question why they're the ones fighting the Mad Bunnies instead of the army. Then Axel talks about his past as a great ice skater, and how it was always his dream to do that, but one day his younger brother got sick, and to pay for his medical expenses, he got a job here at Lagos. Cause I guess an ice skater isn't really a big enough check, but to be fair, his brother's illness was probably one of the most expensive to treat, so I understand. Though Axel actually does feel kinda bad since his brother sadly ended up passing away, and him being up in space was actually his brother's dream once upon a time. With the only reason Axel continues to stay with the VY program is because it kind of makes him feel like his brother's with him when he's up in space. Though Hazel's quick to point out that there's really nothing stopping Axel from returning to ice skating, and there's also really no point in fighting for something that he doesn't believe in. The convo ends, however, with a bit of a split in the narrative. As for Hazel's run, she decides to follow up on what Axel said about how odd it is that the researchers are the ones fighting instead of the army, which leads her to do her own investigation on what's truly going on. And for Axel, it ends when Lagos picks up a signal from Lune in Axel's old hometown, and Axel decides that he's had enough of all this fighting and he wants to try and genuinely help these clearly hurting people of Mad Bunny, who are also children if you needed any more reason to help them. Let's follow Hazel for now as she gets some info from Megusa about where she needs to go, and then she battles her way to the center of the Lagos research facility, which is oddly enough filled with the same battle bots we've been fighting the whole time, which should be enough of a clue already of what's really going down. But it's all confirmed when she finds some records of the president of the Lagos company explaining some of her shady dealings with the Xanadu government, and basically confirming the idea that Mad Bunny are actually the good guys and that we're working for the baddies. Hell, it was even Lagos that staged the attack at the beginning of the game, so that we could lawfully go after Mad Bunny. The record is cut off, however, as Hazel is swarmed with a bunch of combat clones made from her DNA, and is unfortunately defeated by them due to their sheer numbers. Unless you're speedrunning, then no, you gotta defeat all of them, which is a real pain in the butt, by the way, but again, that's where you learn the counter spam. You'll be alright. Probably. Either way, it's Mad Bunny who ends up saving Hazel, saying that they're now on the same side and it's time for them to work together. And apparently this little depot we're in is actually the place that Mad Bunny evacs the little test subjects from Lagos, with Lune actually being Lagos' main test subject, and his suit being the one thing keeping him alive alongside the comet shards, which explains why Mad Bunny were after them. This new little team up then goes off to the clock tower, which is like a large depot for Aether Energy, to try and rescue Lune after Lagos nabbed him. Here they're met with a mysterious figure who turns out to be Raffi, whoop! Who reveals that she and Igusa are in on this whole conspiracy the whole time. And now Raffi's gonna stop them from preventing them from reaching their dream with Lune's powers. And after a thorough ass beating, the world starts to get all wibbly wobbly due to the presidents and Lune messing with the comet. Hazel wakes up in some sort of dreamscape that reveals her past to her, and it shows her and Ash's time in the army. After heading into Nick's territory, the two begin to question their little war, as it seems that people of this place aren't really all that cut out to be soldiers, and instead are just civilians trying to save their home. Hazel says maybe they got bad intel, and Ash, who's kinda done with this whole army shit, is more than willing to head back to base and try to question things, leaving Hazel behind to watch the hostages. But before he leaves, he does tell her that he plans on retiring soon, and even asks if Halo wants to join him. Hazel's like, "No, bro, the army is totes rad and cools." But on the inside, she's like, "It's not rad, it's not totes cools." And instead, she's just really obsessed with Ash being her friend. But you know, Ash heads off and is about to question things, but he's interrupted by his racist-ass co-workers who tell him he's been promoted, and now the boss wants us to capture this group of natives so the big corporation can run tests on them. Holy shit, I thought this was Cute Bunny Power Hour. Anyway, it's revealed here what happened with the Nix wasn't just your usual country kicks natives off of land, but more or less a mass kidnapping effort on top of that, due to the belief that some of the older tribes in Lumina actually have a more, like, affinity to Aether, or at least it's more common among them. Ash realizes that all that shit is whack, and he probably can't convince his clan member co-workers to disobey his orders, so he just slaughters them, which is probably not the best way to handle the situation, but it is incredibly based. Unfortunately though, Hazel comes in and only sees half the story, making her believe that Ash is being cringe on main, so she kills him with his own sword. Hazel, being confronted with her trauma and the new info that shit was way worse than she thought, is not having a good time, and her buddy over there is really not having a good time, as Shoko is now furious because now she knows that the murder was on false pretenses, and she's ready to try and kill Hazel all over again for the death of their friend. And you know, after a quick little rematch, she tries to appeal to Hazel, asking why she kept all of this in her. Why does she carry that burden along with that sword? And Hazel admits that this is all just kind of her own prolonged suicide. Oh my god. She admits that the whole karma system and its potential to kill her is very much on purpose. She wanted this blade and that power to end up killing her with all of that guilt. But that was until she gained a new life and a new family from the space project. The team, Shoko, and this sword is all she has left, and now she realizes what she needs to do. She's ready to move on in her life, carrying this sword to take on Ash's will, and now she's ready to fight for her truth. And after reconciling with Shoko, the two decide that this is Hazel's fight, allowing her to move on in the liminal space they're in, eventually leading her close to the comet itself, but not before confronting Agusa about what has all happened. Agusa readily admits to all of it, how she was a part of the team helping President Soleil go through all of this, just so she could use the comet's power to bring about their truth, which is revealed to be the ability to bring back the dead loved ones in their lives, including Soleil's lost husband and Raffi's father, and of course Agusa's mother. You see, the whole world is made up of Aether, it all comes from the comet and it all returns to it. Aether is the very building block of their entire existence, and Soleil believes it can be manipulated, including the Aether of the dead inside the comet, to make their truth come true. And at some point along the way, Agusa says she realized just how whack this all is, and that was her reasoning for helping Hazel get to the bottom of what's really going on. She believes Hazel is strong and will be able to stop Soleil. She even reminds Hazel to go about living her own truth. And Hazel takes that advice, stepping into the comet's core to face the president, who's not taking a lot of the truths of the world very well. And she kind of considers all of this world just kind of a dream, and nothing they do has any real impact, nor does any of it matter. Okay, so this bit might be somewhat confusing. It definitely had me pondering after my first playthrough. But you can kind of consider all of this Aether stuff, you know, it's basically like code, right? And you know how everything on your computer, game console, or smartphone, it's code, you know? And the comet here is like the GPU or something? I don't know, maybe I just made it like more confusing. Basically, Soleil just realized they're in a simulation, the Matrix, a video game, whatever. And she's about to press the power button because, you know, there being no essentially like any meaning in life is kind of hard to handle on top of the very real psychotic breakdown she's been going through for a while now. And Hazel steps in and she's like, damn. That's crazy. But your bullshit is messing with my truth, my friends, my family, and you may believe nothing matters, but you've been hurting my people, and that's about to stop. Cue epic boss fight that turns my hands into pretzels with how much I'm just spamming that counter button, because otherwise you're low-key just kind of toast. And I'm just gonna be real, there's a reason her entire, like, body is a hitbox. Make use of that. Anyways, after a good bitch slap, Soleil is down and Hazel snatches her up, and the two of them just kinda head into the comet to find Loon and then get out of here. Soleil tries to explain to Hazel that this is all just a simulation, a dream, nothing matters. And Hazel's like, girl, if this world is a dream, then that means our dreams and our wills are what shapes it. With Lune coming in to point out that Soleil is kind of full of it, because all she does is hurt people for her own selfish will, and that includes trying to press the power button on their world just because it kind of made her feel bad. Eventually, Soleil relents, and we end things off with the three heading off to try Hazel's truth out and make the most of what this world is. Alright, let's rewind to Axel. After an argument with Raffi, who's trying to stop him from finding Lune for what we now know are very evil reasons, Axel escapes to find Lune back in his hometown, where the two of them have a conversation about things with Axel genuinely wanting to help, but Lune can't help but point out that Axel should really be helping himself and getting away from Lagos. Why are you still working for them after your brother passed? Because I feel close to him when I'm there. Lune is very much digging into Axel about all this, seriously questioning why he never went back to being a skater, and if his brother would have wanted him to stay at such an awful place. And if you haven't figured things out by now, Lune is Axel's brother Lucian. It was pretty obvious from the start, even more so than what I've been hinting at, but it's taken this long for Axel to connect the dots, so sure, I'll just reveal that here. Either way, Lune ain't happy about his brother relying on his death as a crutch to keep looping back to what Axel believes reminds him of Lucian. Basically, staying comfortable with his brother's passing as an excuse instead of striving for what would actually make him happy. The little sibling spat is interrupted when Raffi comes down and fucking decimates poor Lucian. Oh my god. Before then asking Axel to forget all that brother stuff and join up with her side of things, which would probably be a much more convincing offer if Lucian's charred corpse wasn't right the fuck beside you, dude. Axel obviously denies the opportunity, leading Raffi to take Lucian to the clock tower, leading Axel there as well. Here, Raffi tells Axel of her and the president's dreams and how this clock tower was a result of her father's once upon a time ago, leading us to a flashback of Axel's first day on the job where the two agreed to fight for what their forebears built. Of course, Axel was quick to point out the hypocrisy of using his brother as a living battery for all their BS, and Raffi, of course, says this clash of dreams, clash of truths, can only be settled with a battle to the death. But that death is postponed, however, when the liminal limbo kicks in, sending Axel on a flashback of his own, showing us in Lucian's hospital room where we learn about his love of space and his dream of helping Axel to one day skate around on a comet, since they're made of ice. Wait a minute, is that why he's an ice skater? Wait, hold on, is his name Axel Loop because he just spins around and always double back on his dreams? That's actually a pretty good name pun. That's funny, I like that. But things don't really go well as Lucian's condition begins to worsen, with President Soleil coming in to steal him, away, and force him into that uncomfortable suit, which also messes with his mind. You see, the same condition Lucian is suffering from is the one that took her husband's life, and she wants to try and use Lucian's body to make a clone of him. Which, I don't really know where this plot point came from, but it fails, which does leads us to the Comet plan, which is trying to just resurrect him. After waking up in the liminal space, Axel is haunted by visions of himself and Lucian, who say that Lune is probably not the same brother as he once knew. Axel, however, doesn't really give a shit about that. Whether Lune is still his brother or not is not his concern. All he cares about is there's someone out there who needs his help, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Which, 1, based. 2, unfortunately for him, Suffering McGee over here is still keen on that death match, so it's time to rumble! Actually, no, you're actually not really supposed to do that. You see, Axel's not really keen on all of this and just decides to take the pacifist route and refuse to fight. However, on my first playthrough, I did not notice the option change in the pause screen, so for me, it was just kind of like a non-stop pummeling of this poor girl over and over and over again. And like, I mean, seriously, when the cutscene played and like kicked me back right before the fight, I just thought it was like a weird glitch or something. I didn't even check the pause menu. So I legit just kept fighting and beating Raffi for what had to be a half to a whole hour. Cause like, I don't know, it just felt like what I was supposed to do. So it was like this perpetual ass beating, Diavolo styled. How many times do I need to teach you this lesson, you old rabbit? I love the young people. I swear to God, I probably kept fighting and battling her till like my stomach rumbled and I either had to shit or get something to eat. So I paused the game and then I saw that the option changed and that was just so funny to me. I'm not sorry, by the way, you know, after all those weird comments in Hazel's playthrough and just all her BS in this campaign, Raffi, you're begging for these hands. Also, Shoko is the daughter of Soleil and Soleil married Raffi's dad. So are these two stepsisters? It's weird how that doesn't come up. Anyway, after the 57th Axel, I've come to bargain. I finally relented and I let Axel do what he wanted and refused to fight, leading him to ask if Raffi ever actually cared about their little family on the space station. Which actually breaks Raffi a little bit, having the two finally settle things with their words, leading Raffi to understand the error of things, as she really did love Axel and all of her new friends, and she shouldn't still be stuck in the past. Leaving Axel to realize that he himself was wrong. He wasn't strong enough to move on, but things are different now, with Axel now heading to fight the final boss Soleil and try to make her understand too. So be it, hero. Oh, fuck, oh, God, oh, no, wait. Hey, oh! I'm telling you people, Axel is a murderous machine! After a good beating, Axel levels with Soleil, telling her that we have to make our own meaning in this world. And when they meet Lune, things play out as they did with Hazel, except Axel also accepts Lune as an individual, and won't just be trying to get back something of his brother that he lost, leading Soleil to want to try Axel's version of the truth, and the three set off to make the most of this world. Code Bunny's story is actually really well crafted. I like the characters, I like the plot, and I like the message. It's basically the old nihilistic view of nothing matters, there's no divine plan. There's no purpose, it's just you and the uncaring universe. And that's awesome! Oh my God, you guys, I don't have the time to go through my own backstory today, boys, but let me just tell you, when I finally allowed myself to realize that, it was like a weight disappeared from my shoulders. Cause man, when nothing matters, that means everything matters. There's no defined destiny or anything stupid, it's just what you want to do. Everything in this world is done because of your actions, your choices, your experiences. It's liberating, and liberating is exactly what I feel this game is trying to abide. It doesn't matter the mistakes of your past, the burden you carry on your shoulder, the truth of your existence in the world. All that matters is what you're going to do next, your future, which can be built today by your actions. You can create your own dreams, your own truths for this world, and you can do it with the people you love. What a wonderful message that I'm glad to see this game embodies. Everyone is given a chance to make things right, and they do. Soleil probably needs full-on jail time, but otherwise everyone here was hurting and now they get a chance to move forward despite the obstacles. Never giving up and moving forward with the knowledge that they have the power to make things right. Even if this world isn't necessarily real, it's still their world and they can shape it however they want to, with the people they care about right by their side. It's wonderful! Though I do have a few little nitpicky complaints about the narrative. One is probably the role the government play in the main plot. I mean, in the backstory with the Nyx clan and Hazel, they're pretty important, but I didn't really get what made them all that different than the corporation we worked for, and that was ultimately the main enemy of the game, which probably was the point, I feel, but it felt like they were just one and the same, and I probably would have just combined them to kind of help the narrative feel a bit more streamlined. Also, Soleil as the final villain, just, I don't know. She doesn't appear a lot in the game, she's mostly relegated to backstory stuff, just like the government is, and I kind of felt like maybe her role as main antagonist probably could have fit better if she was like an actual twist villain. Like maybe if we combined her with either Raffi or Agusa. Definitely Raffi, now that I'm actually thinking about it, since they were actually trying to revive the same person anyway, would have made her small interactions with Shoko really carry some more weight. It made me feel like Soleil is more than just a final boss. If we actually got to interact with her more throughout the game in those side conversations or in more cutscenes. Make Raffi the Tony Stark type where they run things and they build things. I don't know, probably would have made the reveal of the Jackalope clone sting a bit more, especially with how there was a whole side segment moment that Raffi has with involving Hazel's hair. Maybe that could have hinted that she plucked one or she got one from the magazine, the feel the DNA thing, that could have worked. I don't know, maybe, yeah, I'm not really sure myself. Though it does feel at least to me, that we might get more out of Soleil, judging by that expansion trailer, so I'll hold my tongue for right now. Though part of me is wondering how an Elseworld story would go with Soleil using Ash as the clone's base instead of Hazel. Ugh, that would have been heartbreaking. But my other complaint comes in the balance of gameplay and story. The majority of your playthrough is going to be reading the story, which is not a bad thing per se. Plenty of other great platformers also have narratives that kind of do dwarf their actual in-game time. But I do have to admit, it does kind of feel odd to me to complete both of this game's campaigns in about 2 hours, but the actual time you spent playing the game was around 40 minutes, if we're combining both. If we're not combining both, then that's 20 minutes of the hour, which is a very rough ratio. Not bad, again, but it did feel odd if I'm being honest. There is a classic mode that takes out all the cutscenes, and the speedrun mode just lets you shoot through level to level, so you won't have to worry if you're not a story person, but it just felt, yeah, I just don't have another word for it. It's just kind of odd. And I do really want to emphasize that's not bad, and I want to do that because, well, y'all know how I enjoy games, right? I believe I've discussed my own hierarchy of elements when it comes to a game. What's important to me, with gameplay always being at the top, and the story always falling below other elements like graphics or music. It's not that I don't think you can't have great, incredible stories in games, but at least when it comes to me, I need y'all to understand that when I play a game, there is a certain something I'm there for. And game feel is exactly what that is. It's a big reason why I'm not a visual novel sort of guy, outside of a few instances, because I have an internal sense of what I come for a game. But that's a completely personal thing, I can't register or pretend that this feeling is something somebody else would even clock if they played Code Bunny, I mean, I read other reviews and they didn't even see them mention it, so this gotta be a me thing, right? But time will tell, of course, and you can definitely expect me to be there when the free update, or hell, Code Bunny 2 or whatever game Team 7th Star comes out with next. Hierarchy or no, the gameplay in this story is amazing, and the story's really good too. I'm excited for whatever this team makes next. Which leads me to my conclusion. Code Bunny is well worth your time. Its gameplay is wonderfully experimental and fast-paced, making it one of the best game feels I've felt in a platformer. The music and visuals are top-notch, not just glorifying what made that classic pixel era so great, but evolving it just like it did for the gameplay. The story delves into some very interesting themes with some really cool little cute bunny characters for us to have fun with. And heck, like I said before, my only real complaint is that I wish there was more of it to play. Which really is a compliment. I'm very excited to see what they do in the future. Code Bunny is great, and I highly recommend it if you got a 10 spot burning a hole in your wallet. Though, speaking of wallets, if y'all are gonna make any merch for this game, I wanna be at the top of the list for anything to do with Axel. Listen, he was my guy as I played through this game. He's a cool older brother figure just like me who had his little Baki/Blade trading arc with a blind master, and then him beating up a whole gang. Axel was just him, bro. The other characters were all cool and all that, but Axel, nah, he was the shit. I'd rep him however I could. Easily the best character in the game. And a better man than me if that whole Raffi situation was anything to go by.
Come on, bring it in there. Tuck that.
I'm in there, dog. I'm in there, dog. I'm in there, dog.
You tucking it in there? But you tuck though. But you tuck though. You tuck it.
I'm in there.